Assalamu alaikum, dear brothers and sisters. Have you ever wondered what will happen the moment you're placed in the grave, alone, with no one beside you? No phone, no light, no loved ones. Only silence, soil, and your deeds. A few years ago, in rural Indonesia, a seasoned grave digger named Yusuf shared something that shook even the most skeptical hearts. He said, "I've buried hundreds of people. Some graves feel heavy, tense, like the earth itself resists. But there was one young man. His name was Muhammad, only 24. The moment we lowered him, it was like the soil softened. There was a calm, even a fragrance." He later learned that this young man never slept a night without reading Surah Al-Mulk. Prophet Muhammad said, "There is a surah in the Qur'an which contains 30 verses. It interceded for a man until he was forgiven. That surah is Tabarak Alladhi Biyadihil Mulk, Surah Al-Mulk, Tirmidhi." Think about that. A surah that doesn't just get you reward, it pleads for you. It intercedes in the grave when your voice can no longer speak. This surah is not just ink on a page. It becomes a living shield, a witness, a protector in the darkness of the grave. And the question I want to ask you today is this: what if a chapter of the Qur'an could speak on your behalf, when no one else can? In this video, we're going deep into the power, meaning, and miracles of Surah Al-Mulk, the surah that protects its reciter in the grave. I'll also share one of the most emotional graveyard stories I've ever heard. One that will change how you look at death and spiritual protection forever. Stay until the end, because I'm going to share one of the most emotional graveyard stories I've ever heard. It'll change how you see death and protection in the afterlife. Have you ever heard a story of someone who experienced a peaceful or miraculous burial? Share it in the comments. I want to compile real-life reflections. Before starting this video, don't forget to like this video, because it gives us a lot of strength to continue sharing beneficial content. And I invite you to subscribe to our channel and activate the notification bell to stay informed of our next publication on the Islamic faith. Share it with your loved ones and leave a comment to tell me what you think. Thank you and good video. Step 2. The Hadith and meaning behind Surah Al-Mulk. Let's step deeper into this surah that the Prophet didn't just recommend. He never went to sleep without it. The Messenger of Allah said, "There is a surah in the Qur'an with 30 verses, which interceded for a man until he was forgiven. That surah is Tabarak Alladhi Biyadihil Mulk, Surah Al-Mulk, Abu Dawood, Tirmidhi." These aren't metaphorical words. The Prophet is telling us, this surah spoke, it interceded. In the unseen realm, where our voices go silent, this surah becomes a voice for you. But what makes it so powerful? Let's start with its name, Al-Mulk, the sovereignty. The very first verse begins, "Blessed is he in whose hand is all dominion, and he is over all things competent." Surah Al-Mulk, 67. This isn't just poetic, it's a reminder of reality. Allah owns all things: life, death, power, punishment, mercy, and your fate in the grave. In that place where no phone can reach you, where your career, followers, and savings mean nothing, sovereignty still belongs to one. And if you've ever felt powerless thinking about death, if you've ever lain in bed at night wondering what happens the moment my soul is taken, then know this: Surah Al-Mulk is your nightly protection plan. The Prophet said in another narration, "It is a protector, it is a rescuer, it saves from the punishment of the grave." Al-Hakim. Just think, a surah, only 30 verses, takes less than 5 minutes to recite, yet it fights for you when no one else will. It's not just about reading words. It's about building a relationship with a chapter that's alive in meaning and loyal to its reader. Imagine lying in your grave, and this surah comes forward and says, "O Allah, I prevented him from sleep. He stayed awake to recite me, so don't punish him." This is not myth. This is the promise of the one who never lies, Muhammad. So here's the reflection. What are we doing each night to earn that protection? If you've ever feared what happens in the grave, this surah is like a spiritual shield. Let's unpack its verses to see how. Do you currently recite Surah Al-Mulk before sleeping? If not, what's holding you back? I'd love to hear your journey, your habits, struggles, even reminders you use. Let's help each other build this habit together. Step 3. Real stories. Grave protection in our time. Sometimes we think the miracles of the Qur'an are distant. Things from the time of the Sahaba, the desert sands, the early centuries. But they are happening right now, in our world, in our generation. Now, in a quiet village in Yemen, just a few years ago, a young man named Abdullah was killed during a bombing in a conflict zone. He was only 22. People in the town knew him for two things: his soft smile and his nightly habit of never sleeping without reciting Surah Al-Mulk. During his janazah, something strange happened. The grave diggers later told the imam that when they placed his body in the ground, they felt an unexpected ease. The soil was soft, no resistance. And as they finished, a light fragrance filled the air, sweet, natural, and unexplained. People wept, not just out of sorrow, but out of awe. They felt like they had just witnessed Rahmah, a moment where Allah's mercy was tangible. Compare that to another story from Cairo, Egypt. A man in his early 50s passed away suddenly in his sleep. He was known in the neighborhood, not for prayer, not for the Qur'an, but for his anger and coldness. He often said, "I'll get serious about religion when I'm older." In the hours before his death, his family says he looked disturbed. His eyes were wide open when they found him. His final moments looked like a struggle, not a peaceful transition. No fragrance, no softness, just fell. A chilling silence. Brothers and sisters, these aren't fairy tales. These are real stories, told by real families. And they point us back to one powerful truth. The Qur'an isn't just for reading. It becomes your lawyer when no one else can. Surah Al-Mulk doesn't just live in a book. It walks into the unseen with you, for you. It's not just what you recite. It's who you become by reciting it consistently. Let these stories be a wake-up call and a hope. You're not too late. You're still breathing. You can still build a connection with this surah tonight. The Qur'an isn't just for reading. It becomes your lawyer when no one else can. These stories aren't just for history books. They're happening right now. Have you ever heard a story that made you more committed to reading the Qur'an regularly? Share it below. Your story could inspire someone. Step 4. Quranic story. Parallel. Surah Yasin and Surah Al-Mulk. Sometimes it takes more than one verse to wake our hearts. Sometimes Allah pairs a story with a reminder. Two surahs, two powerful voices, one that speaks at death and one that speaks in the grave. Let's look at Surah Yasin, the heart of the Qur'an. In its middle verses, we're introduced to a man, anonymous by name, but legendary by courage. He ran from the far end of the city to defend the messengers. When his people rejected him and killed him, what did he say? as his soul was taken? He said, "If only my people knew, of how my Lord has forgiven me and made me of the honored." Surah Yasin 36, 26-27. Even in death, his wish wasn't revenge. It was that his people knew the truth, that they woke up. Now compare that with the opening of Surah Al-Mulk. He who created death and life to test you, which of you is best in deeds? Surah Al-Mulk 60-70-2. One surah tells the story of a man dying upon truth. The other reminds us why we live and die, to be tested, to prove our sincerity before the one who holds dominion. Do you see the connection? The man in Surah Yasin passed his test, even when society turned against him. Surah Al-Mulk tells you and me that life and death aren't random. They are deliberate, designed, measured tests. In a world that constantly distracts us with trends, dopamine, and deadlines. These two surahs are like divine reminders of purpose and destiny. Yasin gives us the emotion of faith under pressure. Al-Mulk gives us the framework to prepare for the test that waits beneath the soil. And just like the man in Yasin wished others could understand after he died, you now have the chance to prepare before that moment comes. Because these aren't just stories to reflect on. They are warnings for the heedless and hopeful signs for the seekers. If you've been distant from the Qur'an, these surahs are like a soft voice calling you back. Live for what matters. Die with what protects you. In a world that constantly distracts us, these two surahs are like twin reminders of purpose and destiny. One speaks at death, the other at burial. Which surah do you feel speaks directly to your heart right now? And why? Your reflections might inspire someone else's journey back to the Qur'an. Step 5. Scientific and theological reflections. When you look up at the sky on a clear night, what do you see? Maybe stars? Maybe clouds? Maybe nothing but darkness. But Surah Al-Mulk tells us to look again and again, not just with our eyes, but with our hearts. He who created 7 heavens, one above another. You do not see in the creation of the Most Merciful any inconsistency. So return your vision. Do you see any flaw? Surah Al-Mulk 67:3. More than 1400 years ago, the Qur'an challenged humanity. Go ahead, scan the skies, find a mistake you want. Now fast forward to today. Scientists with million-dollar telescopes stare into galaxies billions of light years away. And what do they conclude? That the universe is precisely balanced, mathematically elegant, fine-tuned beyond imagination. Even non-Muslim physicists like Paul Davies or Michio Kaku refer to the cosmos as a masterpiece, governed by rules too perfect to be random. Yet the Qur'an already told us there are no flaws. That verse alone is enough to anchor belief. But Surah Al-Mulk goes even deeper. Indeed, we have adorned the nearest heaven with lamps, stars, and made them as missiles against the devils. 67:5. Beyond physical beauty, these stars serve a metaphysical purpose. They protect the skies from dark forces we can't see, just like Surah Al-Mulk protects your soul in the unseen world of the grave. And that protection isn't symbolic, it's literal. The Prophet taught that the punishment of the grave is real, and one of the few surahs that actively shields you from it is this one. Many righteous people, imams, scholars, even ordinary believers, have shared dreams, visions, and experiences where the punishment of the grave was shown to them. And in those accounts, Qur'an reciters stood out with light, with peace. Imagine this. While others are crying out alone in darkness. Your soul is shielded by verses you once whispered under your blanket every night. Even scientists stand in awe of the universe. But we were already told it was flawless over 1400 years ago. Just imagine what else is true in this surah. Which verse in Surah Al-Mulk makes you pause the longest? Let's reflect on the power of just one ayah together. Step 6. How to build the habit of reciting it. At this point, you might be thinking, I want to start. I want Surah Al-Mulk to speak for me in my grave. But how do I make it a habit? It's simpler than you think. And the rewards are far greater than you can imagine. The best time to read Surah Al-Mulk is before sleeping, right after Isha. The Prophet made it a nightly routine. He didn't sleep without it. So this isn't about a rare ritual. It's a daily shield. Tip number 1. Set a recurring reminder on your phone. Not just a beep, but a notification that says, armor your soul. Recite Surah Al-Mulk. Tip number 2. Read with someone. If you're married, read it with your spouse. If you have kids, let them hear you. If you live alone, call a friend and read over voice once a week. Tip number 3. Pair it with your nightly du'as. Right after you finish Surah Al-Mulk, raise your hands. Make dua for protection, forgiveness and steadfastness. And let me tell you a story. In the UK, a young rêveur named Jamil shared his journey. He had anxiety, especially around the idea of death. Every night, he feared not waking up. Then someone gave him a simple advice. Start reading Surah Al-Mulk before bed. He said, at first, I just did it for protection. But after a few weeks, I started feeling calm. I don't fear sleep anymore. It's like I'm being tucked in by the words of Allah. This surah only takes five minutes to read. That's less time than you spend scrolling through stories or swiping through reels. But the impact? It could last forever. So don't let tonight pass without making that promise. Even if you're tired, even if you stumble through the verses, just start. Consistency is where the magic happens. Don't just listen to this video and scroll on. Make Surah Al-Mulk part of your nightly armor. It only takes 5 minutes, but can last you an eternity. What's your current bedtime Qur'an routine? Let's encourage each other. Drop your tips below. Step 7. Final reflection plus emotional ending. Let's take a breath together. You've listened. You've reflected. Now it's time to ask, what will protect you when you're no longer here? The Prophet Muhammad, the most beloved to Allah, the most protected, the most guided, never went to sleep without reciting Surah Al-Mulk. If he needed its protection, what about us? This surah isn't just about death. It's about what follows. It doesn't just describe the test. It arms you with the answers. It doesn't just warn, it defends. There will come a day, perhaps not far from today, when we are washed, wrapped, and lowered into the ground. And in that still moment, when the world turns silent, and your soul is caught between dimensions. Imagine lying there, no light, no voices, just soil and silence. And then, a voice, familiar, gentle, strong. I'm here to protect you. I stood by you every night. You never ignored me. And now, I won't ignore you. That voice is Surah Al-Mulk. Don't let that night come and find your tongue empty. Don't let the soil greet you without this surah by your side. The Qur'an was never meant to be decoration. It was meant to be defense, dialogue, deliverance. You still have time. Tonight, make that intention. Read it, even if just one verse. Then do it again tomorrow. And again the day after. Until this surah becomes your companion. In life, in sleep, in the grave, and on the day of judgment. Let's end with a dua. O Allah, make Surah Al-Mulk our shield in the grave. Let its words comfort us when no one else can. Let it rise for us as a witness on the day when all witnesses are called, and let our tongues never tire of your words, even in our final breath. Ameen. Imagine lying in your grave, surrounded by darkness, and suddenly a voice comes forward and says, I am here to protect you. That's Surah Al-Mulk. Who do you want to share Surah Al-Mulk with today? Tag or name them in the comments, and let's spread the reward. Call to action suggestion. If this touched your heart, don't let it end here. Subscribe for more reminders that reach the soul. Share this with just one person, and let the reward echo into your grave too.